Hello, this is Sahar. I hope you enjoy listening to this podcast.
I welcome you this afternoon to the inspirational talk. What I would like to do today is to talk a little bit about the future, how we bring change about, how we make change happen, and indeed when we get to a stage where we don't even need a psychic reading or whatever preps that we use to help us get along the way. At the end of today's talk, I would like to do a meditation. As you might know, today has been dedicated as a day of peace, and there has been various activities today, and if anyone doesn't want to do the meditation, that's fine. So you can at that point leave or just simply let me know. Would that be alright with everyone to do the meditation? Brilliant. Right, so what we're going to talk about today is change and how we make change happen. I think I'll take questions at the end of the talk. Otherwise, if you feel you want to ask as we go along, please feel free to do so. When Chris, the organizer, asked me to talk about something, first let me tell you a little bit about me. I've been a professional psychic for the last 14 years. I mostly deal with the tarot, but I also do healing, and today I have been doing coffee cup readings. So going back to your point, it really doesn't matter which medium you use. I went into the tarot to understand, to be able to know my future. I wanted to know how could someone know the future, my future, and I don't. So the reason that I've learned it is really to be able to understand the future a little bit more. And what I found out is that you make the future, and no one knows the future but you. So how does that happen? How can you explain the future in a different frame, from a different point of reference? The reason I tell you that, and I'll share with you a little bit, my brother, who's a civil engineer, was going through town to London about 2 weeks ago. And it was the first time that he had his healing session. He's never been to a healer before. He does not know what healing is. And after the session, I was trying to explain to him what happens in a healing and why some people heal and others don't. He was complaining from a back problem, and the healer pointed out to him that his heart was closed. And he said, what does that mean? So over lunch, over a lot of napkins, I got sketching and drawing, and I did the 7 bodies, the etheric, emotional, etc., and what happens when you heal. And after half an hour I said, am I making sense? And he said, no, but I understand what you're trying to say. So for someone who does not have in his vocabulary chakras, centers, energy, etc., how do you explain change, and why people change and others don't, and why people heal and others don't? And that made me think really quite recently about what I want to say today. So I will try to avoid using chakra. I'll probably have to use energy. It's one of my favorite words. But really, how do you explain change? And it doesn't matter what religious background, what your beliefs are. How does change happen? I hope you can see this, but I'll be going through them. And this is what a lot of people call, but I like to use, is the universal law, the universal metaphysical law, which is really to do with energy. And there are a couple of 3 laws actually. The first one, and the sooner you understand, the sooner that your life will start to be easy, or to get easier. Which is, what you resist, persists. It's a universal law. If you resist being without a partner, you will stay that way. If you resist being poor, you will stay that way. If you resist the illness or the tough situation that you are in, you will stay that way. This is simply how energy works. Whatever you think about, you will attract, it will hold on to you. So the sooner that you change your beliefs, you change the negative pattern, you replace, I will never have money, or I will never have a partner, the sooner that your life will change. Does that make sense? So far, are you with me? Okay. The second law, if you like, is energy flows where intention goes. If anything from today that you're going to take away with you is intention, is the most important energy or word or force in the universe. The minute you have an intention, you download something. If your intention is to have a good life, that is what you will download. If your intention is to succeed, your brain literally, as an antenna, will switch that way, and that is what you will receive. If you want anything to change in your life, it's the intention. What is your intention when you wake up that morning? That you intend to be in a bad mood, you intend to be in a good mood. You have to exercise a choice. So if anything at all, please remember, energy flows where intention goes. That's the simplest way to change. Maybe not so simple to do, but we'll talk about that, because you need to be aware of it, conscious, daily basis, every moment of what is it that you do, where your intention goes. The third law of attraction, perhaps, is we attract what we are. So if you're a little bit whiny, you're doubtful, etc., that's the experience that you will download, that's the experience that will attract yourself, that's the kind of partners, business partners, etc., that you'll attract to you. The human being is like an onion. I don't know if you know the drawing of the man with the 7 etheric bodies, etc. We are very much like that. And you have to peel through every layer of your onion to find out what is, as a thought, what do you have buried in there, in the back of your mind, a negative thought or a negative pattern that still continues to attract negative experiences to you. So we attract what we are. The simplest way of adopting that is be your best friend. Because if you're kind to yourself, if you love yourself, and I'm sure you've heard this quite a lot, this is really what you'll attract to yourself. In my readings, I often ask my clients, what would you advise your friend in that situation? Would you advise her to go on with that relationship or to go on with that business partnership? And it's very easy, and suddenly they say no. Well, why can't you do it yourself? So the easier way is to detach from your current situation, think of yourself as your best friend, and then you will be able to be more objective rather than subjective, and then change begins to happen. The other thing that I'd like to consider, for you to consider, is 3. And most of the time 3 for me is a holy number, because the brain doesn't accept more than 3 new concepts at a time. But the second way to change really is your mind. You have to accept that your mind is not yours, but your brain is. Isaac Bentov, a scientist who played around with mind and thoughts, etc., believes that our brain do not produce thoughts, but rather they are devices for amplifying them. So we don't really have an original thought. So what is the job of your brain then? The job of your brain is to filter out all these thoughts that you absorb consciously, subconsciously, directly, indirectly from family, friends, what I call your tribe, whatever the tribe is. So if a girlfriend had a hard time, maybe you think I should have a hard time because this is what a hard time should be. If a business partnership breaks down, etc. So separate. So the job of the brain is to separate your own beliefs from those of the tribe. Is everyone okay with this? So that's the second thing, that if you understand that your mind is not yours, sometimes you want to feel depressed, the weather is bad, etc. You need to understand if everybody in the country is depressed about the weather, you don't need to be. And this is when change begins. So our brains don't produce thoughts. Your mind is not yours, but your brain is. When you have an inner conflict, I really want love, but I'll believe I'll never meet him or I'll never meet her. When you have an inner conflict, you will attract a conflict at any level. So if there are 2 thoughts that are equal in force but opposite in direction, you're creating a tension between you, your soul, or between you and yourself, and that creates a stalemate situation. So change does not happen. I'm a big believer in, again, filtering your thoughts. You have to write down why is it that you are in a rut, or why is it that you are stuck? What is that belief behind it? What is it that you believe about yourself? I'll never get the job, I'll never have the salary. Write them down. Change that into a positive statement. Keep repeating that to yourself, and then suddenly the experiences that you draw to you are going to change. The third point is the universe is already perfect. So you don't have to change the world because it is already perfect. You may not like what's happening to you, but believe it or not, it's often to improve your life, not to make you miserable. So if you have that understanding that the universe doesn't get personal, we do. The way we react to what's happening to us could either help us progress or could make us more stuck in a rut. So that's a very, very important point. Someone a long time ago told me that God, the universe, whatever you believe in, is very much like electricity. It's neutral. It lights up a church, a mosque, as well as a brothel. There's really no difference. So the universe is not against you. You're not missing karma, or you don't have bad karma. You're not missing anything really. But what you need to understand is, if I'm going through a tough time, why? What is that belief that I have that's doing that experience? Does that make sense to everyone? So how do we bring change about? Does anyone have any thoughts? How do we make change happen? Absolutely. Change starts with you. Change your belief, you'll change your life. The second point is, change is constant, so accept it. I often hear, I've tried everything, I've tried every course, I've taken every lecture, and nothing has changed, I'm still in a rut. Well, why? Because change is constant. So your effort has to be constant. You're always facing something new, otherwise you won't be alive, you won't be in a body. So you might as well accept that. And because change is constant, you need to consistently put a lot of effort in to filter your thoughts, to be aware of what feelings, what thoughts you are having. So accept that. So it will get better, but it will not stop. Again, I remind you of the layers. Every time you change, you sort of move to a different wavelength. You move to a different layer. So the lessons are never the same, but there's more fine-tuning going on until you release all the attachments about expectations and you're more flexible, you're willing to accept life as it comes. Change is a result of consciously applying consistent effort. It has to be consistent, as I explained earlier, and it has to be disciplined and in a genuine manner. So if anything works, a crystal works, a healing session works, a psychic reading works, totems, angels, everything works at least once. Because you needed that, you put a lot of faith in it, you've exchanged energies, if you will, between that and that, whatever you've tried, and therefore a change took place. But now you've moved to a different level, your energy has changed, and now you need something else. So whatever worked before doesn't work any longer. So I'm not against using anything to help you start off, definitely, but recognize the power is within you. It's a result of your consistent effort, not because you have 4 crystals in different corners. And you have to be truthful to yourself. A lot of people don't want to face the fact that it's a pattern within them that's creating the pattern that they're stuck in. Why should we bother? A client asked me recently, what's it all about? Why should I change? I think because we're here already, so we might as well make the most of it. Let's talk about consciousness. Consciousness evolves through change. So we need change, we need the drama, the good things and the bad things, because that is the way that we learn. We spoke about the difference between the mind and the brain, and I'd like to talk about the body, the brain, and the relationship to the soul and the spirit. If you were a spirit, and if I were to pinch you in a spirit form, you're not going to go ouch, because there's nothing to pinch, do you understand? So the way we learn is through the body. When there is pain or happiness, that's how you learn. How you react, how you feel, is how you progress as a soul, also as a spirit. So the more you learn here, the further you will go also up there, if you like. I'm talking about consciousness really, because that is the ultimate. How do you know that you're learning? It's through the brain. So the brain-body connection is also what is unique to us. Because this is how you process like a decoder. This is how you pick up a digital signal. It depends on the decoder you have and how sophisticated it is and what bandwidth, etc., etc. So it is the brain. So how you process or how you learn, if you develop wisdom from what you learn, that what you go through, then you will progress and then things will change and then you will evolve. So what is the definition of consciousness? According to Oxford Dictionary, it says consciousness is a state of a totality of a person's thoughts and feelings. So again, we have to be aware of how much we react or don't we react to something or overreact to something, but also the thoughts. So the combination of the mind, that's the thoughts, and how we feel is the heart. And I'd like to talk a little bit about if you think of these two centers that are unique to each one of us, so we might go through the same experience, but what we learn from these experiences is different because you have a different brain than mine and you have a different heart than mine. So to understand the feelings and to understand what's going on in your thoughts, in your brain, this is how you progress and develop. Recently, I've also read an article about the heart and how it is much more active than the brain is in terms of wavelengths and in terms of the magnetic field that it releases around it, and it seems to be like 100 times more than that of the brain. And scientists found out recently that there's a direct link between the heart and the brain. So if your heart is relaxed, happy, literally your brain would be, and your perception about life would be, etc. So there's a very important link between the heart and the brain. How do we make the heart lighter? Does anyone have an idea? Forgiveness. The more you forgive, the lighter you are. The more you forgive yourself, you forgive your past, you forgive mistakes, you forgive the neighbor, whatever you need to forgive. When you exercise the heart and the mind, you become like the expert, well-seasoned traveler. You're going to travel with less luggage. Same thing through life. The easier you forgive, you realize what has happened, you understand why it has happened, what you have learned from it, then you're lighter. The lighter you are, the more the brain is going to, the heart is going to connect with the brain in a much happier manner, and the more that your perceptive will also change. So just remember that there's a direct link between the heart, how you feel, how much you forgive, how much you're able to understand, and you will develop, or you will achieve, or not achieve, you will have more wisdom, you become wiser. This is what life is about, for us to learn from the past to be wiser. That is how consciousness evolves. The third point is accept and understand new truths about yourself. Why? Because then you'll be in command of your life, not in charge of it, not in control of it. You cannot control life, because everything is forever changing. Your hair is for every second is growing, your nails are growing, every cell of your body is changing every second. There is nothing to control. But you need to be in command. You cannot control. The truth is, as I said, look in the mirror and ask yourself, have I really learned? What is that issue about? And if you do that, you will be lighter, change will happen a lot faster, and even predictions will come or take place a lot sooner. So what are the steps in changing the script of your life? I say that because I really, if you think of life as a movie, again, if you detach yourself from your movie, you're just watching your life. What was that scene about? What was that drama about? Why did you react that way? If you take yourself out of your life and watch it like a movie, then you will understand a lot better. You will understand why did that scene take place. You will understand how to change the script. So you have to be aware how much you feel, how you feel, what is that belief that is triggering that experience, and literally that will allow you to change the script. So steps to changing the script. The first one is take responsibility. He didn't hurt you, she didn't hurt you, it's nobody's fault. Take responsibility that there is a belief there, somehow, in one of these layers, that attracted that experience. So the world is not against you, your God is not against you, the universe is not against you. Take responsibility of your actions and feelings. Even if you say, I've trusted someone, he's let me down. Why did he? You've allowed him to let you down. I think if you think that way, you feel much more powerful. You're in charge of your life rather than feeling like a victim. So take responsibility. It's okay, we grow with risks, so that not to fear risks. The second point really, and this is very important and very easy to do, lose your brain, open your heart. So many people are into analysis, and they are in analysis, professional analysis, for years and years. And you have to understand the frequency of the analysis does not change whatever it is that you're trying to analyze. So sometimes understanding logically is not the issue here. What needs to be is for an action to be taken, and then that will create change. Whether you understand it or not through the brain, you might understand it through your heart. So lose the brain, open your heart. Recognize what you feel, but do not analyze it. The third point is let the devil go. So many people know that they need to change and how to change, but they don't. Do you know why? Because they almost always say, the devil I know better than the one I don't. Well, let the devil go, because that's why you're stuck. And finally, think like a different person. So if you've never thought that you had a choice before, now is the time to start exercising that. Change your beliefs. That can be the hardest thing, but it's the only thing that you need to do, and then your life will change. So from now on, just ask yourself or tell yourself whenever you're down, etc., no, I choose to think differently, I choose to feel differently. Even if the whole world feels that way, you can still separate yourself from the tribe and feel in a different way. Again, as a result of that, you become emotionally secure. Once you're not worried about risks, can I trust him or her, etc. Once you are emotionally secure within yourself, once you know that I am in charge, I am creating this, I am aware of my beliefs, etc., the need to emotionally react to something diminishes. So what does that make life? More spontaneous, more flowing. So there's nothing to control here. You're out of control. And I have to tell you, last year in the summer, I went to the Dead Sea in Jordan, and it was the first time that I went to the Dead Sea, and it was supposed to be very special. And I tried my hardest to swim, etc. You can't, because the dynamics, there's so much was salt, and etc. You couldn't really. So finally, what I did, I just gave up and I floated. And then it worked. So when you give up control sometimes, you just float. It will be a lot easier for your life to move forward. Accept that you are not the center of the universe. So you're not the only person with that crisis or with that drama. In fact, you're a speck in it. So when you think of this vast universe, and we're just a tiny small part of it, and yet that part has a life. And it's why? Because it's experiencing something. That's how the parts learn, progress, as a spirit, so that when you go back to the big pool or the source, then consciousness has evolved. So you're a speck. There's nothing unique about what you are going through. What is unique about it is how you deal with it. How you deal with it depends on your brain, on the brain connection to the body, and therefore your thoughts and your beliefs. And accept that the universe just is. The universe doesn't get personal, we do. And therefore, it's your responsibility to modify outdated beliefs and replace them by practical understanding. So instead of why did it happen to me, maybe the question should be, what did I learn from it? What is it within me that made me attract that? And then your experience is much more useful to you. So to sum up really, change very simply happens in 2 steps. The first step is decide to think differently, to feel differently. Whatever it is, if you're staying at home one day, suddenly you feel down, you don't know why, ask yourself, do I like the way that I feel? You're worried about a problem, a job or a situation? If the answer is no, decide I choose to feel differently. You have to tell your brain that there's a choice. The brain is lovely, it does whatever you tell it. Really, that's simple. It's like a computer, whatever program you put in, it will run it. So that's why be very careful what you feed it. Give your brain a choice. I choose to think differently, I choose to feel differently. The second step is act on that decision. If you decided to feel differently and to think differently, then get up and do something different. Do you understand? So if you follow that decision with action, you will confirm that new belief that I have a choice. The minute the brain recognizes it has a choice, then change is on the way, and then you're not stuck anymore. Any psychic reading, any prediction of any sort can be very, very useful if it gives you advice, if it makes you more aware of what your path is, if it gives you back your self-power. But having the best psychic reading on earth, if you don't act on it, if you don't do your homework, nothing will happen. And that's the point of today really, that change starts within you. If there's anything that you don't like about your life, really see it as a movie. Don't be personal, pull yourself out, watch your life as a movie and decide to change the script. Does that make sense to everyone? Would anyone like to ask anything before we move to the meditation? About anything really. Yes, please.
I'm actually sort of like think of maybe worst scenarios happening to myself so that I don't get disappointed if something awful happens. Do you know what I mean?
But you see already, if I may stop you, what is that belief? I believe something will always go wrong. So take that and change it. Do you understand? That's the belief that's causing all these experiences. So if you diminish it, if instead of I believe something will always go wrong, I believe I will always attract positive changes. I believe I will always end up on top. No matter what happens, I know what to do. If you start repeating that belief to yourself, those will be your experiences. And instead of spending energy, time, worry that something might go wrong, then you'll actually make it happen rather than you'll make it go wrong. Does that make sense to you? So there's always a little belief back there that attracts these feelings and these fears. And if you change that belief, the experience will change.
But isn't that... like the lady said, the worst case scenario, isn't that a sort of fairly sensible insurance policy? I've taken a very important exam, and doesn't it make sense to think, what is the worst that could happen?
Of course, in terms of preparation.
And what will I do
Absolutely.
when I find that I've failed?
Absolutely, but that's planning. That's not like a negative thing. What I understood from you is that you're a bit worried that what if that goes wrong, then what do I do? It came across as a panic. Of course, there should always be... Logically I'd say yes, definitely. But again, if you have a belief that I always attract positive opportunities to me, things like that, then, the whole relationship between you and your situation will be much more positive. But I'm not saying don't have a plan B. Yeah. In fact, no, always have a plan B.
What you say, because I had a period of depression in which the most noticeable part about it, contrary to my normal character, is that every single day I had this sort of notion that something was going to go wrong. And it always did.
Was that during the depression, or did depression come about later?
Depression. And it always did go wrong. And if I had to try to decide what to do, I always made the wrong decision. And then asked myself, now why did I do that? Or why didn't I go there? or say there was a talk and there was never
Yeah.
going to be another talk like that ever again,
Yeah.
and then somehow I'd always miss it.
Yes.
And after I said, why did I miss it? I'll never be able to go to another talk like that.
Yeah.
There was no reason why I couldn't have gone to it. Why didn't I go? And it was this sort of negativity.
Absolutely.
And then I got rid of the depression.
Absolutely.
And I did have to say, I had a sort of...
You exercise a different choice, basically.
Yes, I said things are
Yeah.
going to go right.
Yeah, you see?
And when I recovered
Yeah.
from the depression,
Yeah.
there was one day when it looked as if everything was going to go wrong. I wasn't going to get into the art exhibition. The security guards were banning the way and telling everybody to go home, but I still got in.
Brilliant. Well done.
So that was much better.
Well done. Because really what depresses the brain is not having a choice. This is really why depression occurs. Also it occurs because if you have two beliefs again, that are strong but in equal direction, I'll make it as an artist, I'll never get my break, that creates depression. Because then the brain doesn't have leeway to think of opportunities. You have two beliefs that are the same, opposite in direction. So let go of one. Either decide that you'll make it or stay fearful, but don't kind of torture your brain that way.
Yes, because if you can't decide, that's all.
Decision, absolutely.
Indecision, yes.
Decide and then act. Right. Okay. We'll try and do a short meditation, but it will be okay for the next 10 minutes. Is that alright with everyone? Is everyone okay with the meditation? Okay, so I'd like you to relax, really sit back in your seat. Feet heavy on the floor. And we're going to start the meditation by taking 3 very, very deep breaths. And just the intention or the purpose of the meditation really is to bring to a lot of light to all of us, but also to the world, to the globe as a whole. To generally think of a lot of white light. As you take a breath in, and let me say, if you come back before the rest of us does, just stay in your seat until everyone is back, and then we can all leave the room. So I want you to think that there's a lot of white energy, a pool, a fountain of white light at the center of the room. Take a very deep breath, and the trick is to hold your breath as long as you can. When you feel you're about to explode, literally breathe out. Open your eyes, breathe in. When you breathe out, close your eyes and relax and keep them closed. I want you to focus in your mind at that fountain at the center of the room, and I want you to think of white energy or white light. Whatever image that comes to your mind, use it. If you can't see or imagine anything, really make it up. And all I want you to think or to believe is that this light is shooting all the way up to the ceiling. It hits the ceiling and it bounces back down the walls, covering all of us with the purest white light. If snow helps, think of a smooth snow mountain and just think of that white light energy covering everyone here in this room. I want you to relax now, and the more that you relax, you feel your body getting heavier and heavier. Your feet feel so heavy now that they feel as if they're made out of concrete. In fact, they sink into the floor about an inch or so. Focus on the flow of your breath. There's no effort at all. Feel it coming in. Feel it leaving your body without any effort on your part. Follow that breath through your body. Just notice how far it goes. Track it, how far it reaches in your body. You will feel a sensation of your body becoming warmer, more relaxed. Especially your forehead, especially between the shoulders. And breathe out all your worries, all your concerns, down the legs, out of the feet, and all the way to the center of the earth. With each breath you take now, your breath is getting deeper and deeper. Feel the oxygen reach every cell, bone, muscle of your body, warming it up, relaxing it, and feel your mind gently relaxing, drifting away. Imagine, make up, pretend that in front of you there's a huge big sun. And I just want you to see in your mind's eye that you have your own sun. You're walking with the sun directly in front of you, smiling at you. In fact, it's shining at you, giving you lots of light, brightening your way. Your sun is always with you. No matter which direction you walk in, you're always walking towards the sun. You walk towards the sun, and all the shadows fall behind you. And now look inwards, inside your body. Turn your attention or focus to a point just above the head, the crown point if you like. And I want you to imagine that you're looking through the top of your head, between the skull and the scalp. Imagine that there's a point that you're opening up there. It's pulsating. It's delighted to open up. As soon as you open up that point at the top of your head, lots and lots of white light come rushing through. In fact, it's delighted to receive that energy all the way from the cosmos. With your mind's eye, look upwards through that point and see the sky above you. In fact, you can see the planets, the galaxies, and all the constellations. Look around in your mind's eye. You can see the Milky Way. You are at peace. Listen to the sound of the universe and all the planets. What an amazing view. See yourself standing in that space, all the way up, your head stretching among the stars. They're so close to you, within your reach. But your feet are firmly on the earth. You're standing so tall in space that the sun is at your navel and the moon is at your kidneys. And you're reaching all the way up to the highest point in the cosmos. Look across from that point, far beyond, you'll see a white mountain. And the white mountain reflects a crystal clear lake. That is the lake of ancient healing force since time began. It is in this lake that you're going to get rid of all that you don't need from your body and your mind. Allow yourself to jump, swim in that celestial lake. It feels good, doesn't it? Feel the creative energy of the universe in that lake, on your skin, going through your skin. Notice how refreshed you are. And allow yourself and your body to feel empowered by the healing force of the universe. I'll give you a moment or two. Stay as long as you feel, marveling at the universe, knowing that you are connected and protected. Thank the planets. Connect with the conscious part of all those heavenly bodies that you saw on your journey to that celestial lake. Thank them for protecting you, and ask them to allow you to use their energy every part of your day. You can now start thinking of your feet, of the room that we're in. Become aware of where you're sitting. And open your eyes gradually and slowly when you feel you're ready. Open them up and stand up. And I'd like everyone to jump the minute that they're back. Brilliant. Lovely. Was that alright for everyone? Thank you.
This podcast was brought to you by Katheric.com.